Hello, good morning, happy Saturday, everyone. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You could find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. If you're not already a member at Occupy Fantasy, please join us today. You get access to the model you see here, where you can sort by value for both DraftKings and FanDuel, our OF index, which is going to help you identify the best plays, ownership percentages, etc. You also get access to our lineup builder for single entry and multi entering lineups. And you also get access to our private Discord server where there is a pre-lock Q&A where you get a half hour leading up to each lock where you can hop in the voice channel, ask your specific questions about a given slate, and get help from one of our experts. Also, if you haven't already, please like the video, click subscribe. That really helps us climb these YouTube algorithms. And yeah, I'm here today to help you break down this three-game slate. We have just three games, which makes it pretty easy to digest. The one issue is that no team really has put out their injury report yet as of 10:30 Eastern. So we're kind of speculating as things stand, but I still think I can give you a pretty quality overview and help you get ready for tonight's slate. So let's go game by game. First game, we have the Thunder at the Rockets. The Thunder are 2-point favorites on the road in Houston. And yeah, whenever we're talking about the Thunder, we're really starting with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the best plays on this slate and any slate he's on, really. He got to 50 fantasy points last night. It took him 40 minutes. Not his best night in terms of points per minute, right? But he's been excellent all season. I mean, compared to some of the other payups we're seeing on the slate, I do think he's one of my favorites. We're going to see that reflected in the OF index here in our model. And this model sorts by upside as well as price. It definitely has a favor on the upside variable. But yeah, we're seeing Shape Hop as maybe the fourth best play in terms of OF index. Um, and yeah, it's really tough to argue with. This game has a 231.5 point total, close spread. So while it is a back to back, it is actually a back to back for both teams. So I don't think we have to worry too much about that. He should get his full minutes. I'm guessing 34 to 38 minutes. He probably doesn't touch that 40 from last night, but I don't know that he necessarily needs to hit value. But yeah, really probably one of the best plays on the slate, and I don't think that's a controversial take at all. Josh Giddey, scoring dependent guard. He's kind of been up and down. He needs the ball to go in the hoop for him to hit value, but we did see last night he was able to push for a triple double even with Shea in the lineup. 10 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists. This is good to see from him, especially as this team is healthy, because it's tough for him to get the same looks that he does with Shea in the lineup there. So I do like some Giddy. Dordt's fine, really not an offensive player. I hesitate to play defensive guys in DFS, but Dort is kind of an exception when you're getting him around that 5K price. I'm just taking a look over at the prices of these guys on DraftKings as well. I mean, Giddy's sub 7K, Shea's the same 10.6, so they both look solid here. Dort, we're getting him under 6K. Really not a play I'm ever rushing to get to, but I do think on a short slate, he's someone you could consider. Um, Really not going to be someone I'm prioritizing, if I'm being honest. Pogochevsky, if he starts again, he has been hitting value again, very scoring dependent, but on a limited slate, I do think he has some appeal. Robinson Earl, his minutes tend to fluctuate dramatically, but we're kind of seeing every other game he's having a huge game here. So he had 29 fantasy points, 14, 33, 17, and I'm not really one to just buy into patterns like this. They're kind of arbitrary, but I mean, if you want to, it kind of tells you tonight's a good night for Robinson. Earl is a value play, so I don't mind him. But really, it's the starters for OKC. I don't think there's anything too shocking when you're kind of playing that team. It's really SGA and Giddy first, and then Dort in the front court is kind of secondary guys. We're not seeing anyone really pop up too highly for value. We're seeing Baisley get up there a little bit. I'm interested to see his game log. Darius Baisley, when he's healthy, he does hit value consistently. Only played 19 minutes last night. He has been working back from an injury. It is a back to back. But if you see him in the starting lineup, I think he's someone you could go to for value. But yeah, wouldn't necessarily call him safe regardless. Then over on the Houston side, I mean, the biggest situation to keep an eye on is Sengun is still listed as questionable as things stand. He was out last night, which opened things up for a Bruno Fernando coming off an injury, only played 16 minutes, but more so Usman Garuba. Garuba played a lot in this front court. He played 19 minutes, but he actually got to nearly 30 fantasy points. He's going to be someone I'm considering. Jabari Smith, their very early first round draft pick. He hasn't seen the minutes consistently, but it was nice to see him hit 38 last night. He's about a fantasy point per minute player, so if we can expect that moving forward from him, he should be able to hit value at this 5K price fairly easily and consistently. The thing we do have to keep in mind is that it is a back-to-back. Maybe we see some of these guys rested throughout the day, which is why you're going to want access to the Occupy model. You'll start to see the value plays pop up for these teams as they rule players out. Really, I mean, the backcourt is where you kind of want to focus for Houston. They have Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, both excellent plays, both priced favorably. I mean, Porter 8,400 feels a little bit inflated, but on a short slate, I certainly think you can get there. Jalen Green, similar story. If either were out, the other would become a priority. We also saw Eric Gordon sit last night. I think he could be back today. He has a right groin injury, but they said it was an injury maintenance. So there's a good chance he's back in the lineup, taking a ton of shots. So keep an eye on Eric Gordon. If Gordon's in, that would hurt someone like KJ Martin. Just using DK Live to pull up the box score from last night, we saw KJ Martin go for 44 fantasy points, which is pretty much 10x value. Guys like Jabari Smith, Garrison Matthews both got there as well. If Gordon is in, I think that hurts Smith, then more so Martin, but then Smith and Matthews. But I would like Gordon as a value play. So certainly keep an eye on that. Terry Eason was really chalky last night. I kind of came off him after we saw Fernando was healthy. So keep an eye on that. If Fernando rests maybe on the back to back and we don't get Gordon back, maybe you can go to someone like a KJ Martin or Terry Eason again. But really, it's the backcourt. It's Jalen Green, Kevin Porter, and then if he's in, I do like Eric Gordon. So a lot of decent spots here. It feels like most of these guys are priced where they should be. Obviously, SJA is kind of the priority. So let's move into the next game. We have the Lakers at the Spurs. The Lakers are 4-point favorites. Oh, they opened 4-point favorites. They're now 3-point favorites on the road at San Antonio. 232.5 point total. LeBron James came back last night. He's been dealing with an injury. Um, I mean, he seemed fine. He played 33 minutes, got his 40 fantasy points. Nothing too exciting. The big thing with LeBron is if he's out, that makes AD pretty much a lock and load for me. AD with LeBron out of the lineup has been the best player in basketball, and that's not an exaggeration. We saw him push 60 fantasy points last night with LeBron in there, but if you look at the games prior, he went for 60 plus in 4 straight games. Just ridiculous. And he's getting blocks and steals as well, so he scores really well on FanDuel. But yeah, I mean, over on DK, he's tough to argue with there as well. He's a little bit cheaper at 11K. Tough to get to on a short slate if we don't get more value, and if LeBron's in the lineup. But if LeBron's out, I'm starting builds with AD and then just building value around him. So keep an eye on that for sure. These teams actually did play last night, so we could kind of get just a feel for what to expect here. Obviously, yeah, I mean, obviously, no two games are the same. But we did see AD lead in scoring. Lonnie Walker had a really great first half and then kind of fizzled out. Westbrook kind of a floor game for him. So, I mean, if we're looking at it, even in a Lakers win, none of these guys hit value. And we're looking at this 232.5 point total. This game didn't even get over 200. So maybe bet the under on that if you like it. We saw Sochan have an excellent game for the Spurs. I think he's going to be fine here again tonight. There's really no injuries for San Antonio I'm seeing, except Josh Richardson. Richardson missed the last 2 games. I expect he'll miss again tonight, but keep an eye on that. If he's back, that would cut into Sochan's minutes, who would no longer be as good of a value play. We also did see Zach Collins return, which was supposed to cut into Charles Bassey. I believe it did. Bassey had been a really strong backup center play, but now that Collins is back, we're not going to see that anymore. Podol's the starter. He's the priority here. Tough matchup against the Lakers front court, but I do think we see a better game out of him than we did last night. Same for Vassell, Johnson, Jones, the 3 main starters. I think they're all going to be good here, along with Podol and Sochan. You can go to any of these guys, but really, I mean, where they're priced, they're kind of where they should be. And that's kind of a theme on this slate. I do think Keldon Johnson at 6,100 on FanDuel is certainly a bit disrespectful. I could see getting there. Sochan again, nice value play on both sides. I expect he's going to be a bit over owned. Looking now, only 11% owned on DK, 18 on FanDuel. If Richardson's in, I probably wouldn't want to get there. But if those ownerships hold and Richardson's out, I do think he's one of the better value plays on the slate. Um, but let's sort by index. I mean, we're seeing LeBron pop towards the top because he is at a reasonable 10.5 and 10.8 price. If he's in, I think you can play him. I prefer AD, but the price certainly makes it a bit tougher to get to him there. So yeah, the Spurs starters all look good. Just keep an eye on that Josh Richardson news. I expect LeBron to play tonight, but if he is out, that's going to make AD the top priority on the slate. So keep an eye on that. Don't mind Russ coming off the bench. He had a terrible game last night. I don't think many are going to want to go there. But guard's kind of thin tonight, and so on a limited slate, I don't mind him in that mid range. But yeah, Lonnie Walker, another scoring dependent guard. I could talk about every play in this game. I think they're all viable. But really, I mean, that 232.5 point total is pretty shocking, especially when you consider they didn't even get over 200 last night. So maybe they're expecting both teams to look better here. Personally, I'd probably set the total around 220. I don't know that it's as good of a game environment as the Thunder at the Rockets, but if LeBron's out, AD's by far the best play on the slate. So keep an eye on that. Then it's all kind of secondary guys from LA, so no one we necessarily need to force. So moving into the one and only 9 o'clock game, we see the Suns hosting the Jazz. The Suns are 7 point favorites. The big piece of news here is Chris Paul. Is he still going to be out? I expect he will be. I don't think we see him back tonight. If he is back, that's going to cut into Devin Booker and campaign dramatically. As things stand, I think Devin Booker is one of the best pay up options on the slate. This is another game with a 232.5 point total. Plenty of points to go around in this one. Let's click over to Phoenix. Yeah, so Phoenix didn't have to travel. Utah is traveling from Golden State to Phoenix, so maybe that affects them a bit. But the Suns, I mean, they let the Pistons keep this game close. Ayton had an excellent game. Booker was a bit disappointing. But yeah, I mean, we see the minutes here. Nothing too crazy 30, 36, 32 for the starters. I expect Paul to sit again. If he's in, that's too expensive for Devin Booker. So this news is very important. I'm never paying 9.9 for Booker with Paul in the lineup. If Paul's out, I think it's a totally reasonable price. And save for campaign at 6,700. If Chris Paul's in, I'm not paying that. But if he's out, I do think it's reasonable. On DK, Booker's slightly cheaper, Payne's slightly more expensive. These are your priorities here. But DeAndre Ayton at 7,200 and 7,500. I think he looks fine. Utah's front court defense isn't all that great. I know they're going to try to mix Walker Kessler in a bit more, but as long as Olynyk's there, it's going to be a pretty good matchup for opposing centers. So I do like Ayton as well. Bridges is fine. Torrey Craig is fine. These are all just kind of secondary plays. No one I think we need to prioritize. Then we get over to the Utah side, and Lauri Markkanen. He looks good here at 8,200. His price has come up. He's coming off back-to-back games where he was like half of value in terms of paying off his salary. So I don't know that I'm rushing to get to him. I do like Jordan Clarkson a lot. Mike Conley is still out. I believe he's going to be out again tonight. Same story as Chris Paul, though. It's funny these teams are playing each other because both point guards are out or questionable. Still waiting on this news. If Conley's in, that would take me off Clarkson. That would probably take me off Malik Beasley. But if Conley's out, I do think Clarkson's an excellent play, and Malik Beasley more of a tournament option. Very wide range of outcomes. We're seeing 17-point games, 55-point games out of him. But yeah, I mean the usage is there for him, even with the second unit. So something to keep an eye on. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. All three of these games have similar totals. They all have similar spreads. I mean, the Suns are the biggest favorite on the slate, but I think Utah should be able to keep that game close. So we look over to the model here. We're sorting by OF index. We have Booker popping as the top play on the slate, followed by the Lakers studs, SGA, Kevin Porter, DeAndre Ayton, Bridges, Green. We spoke on all these players. I mean, Markkanen coming off a terrible game. Maybe we get him at decent ownership. He's someone I'd be interested in. AD only 9% on DK. I know that's going to be tough to get to, but if we get the value, I do think I'd still pay up for him even with LeBron in the lineup. But really, as things stand, still waiting on that injury report. Just not a lot of value on either site. I think if Jalen Williams starts, you could look to him. But Jeremy Sochan's probably my favorite value play as things stand. So once again, my name is Nick Marro. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. If you haven't already, please click like and subscribe on YouTube for us to help these videos climb the algorithm. Really appreciate you joining me today. If you're not already a member of Occupy Fantasy, please join. You get access to this model. You get access to our lineup builder, our Discord server with pre-lock Q&A with an analyst on schedule. And yeah, just a great community of folks who want to win at DFS. So what more could you ask for? Again, keep it on the news. We'll be talking about it in the Discord. We'll be processing it through the model. So stay tuned. Let's have some fun tonight and make some money. Take care, everyone.